My fiancé cheated with my maid of honor 2 weeks before our wedding. People think engagements are this glittering corridor leading to a big, happy door. In reality, it's a narrow hallway stacked with cardboard boxes labeled deposits and family expectations. And are you sure about the seating chart? Every step you take, someone hands you another box. Smile for the photos, hold the boxes, pretend your arms don't shake. I said yes to Mark on a Tuesday in April at a little park off North Avenue where the city pretends to be soft. He had a ring, simple, oval, exactly what I wanted because I had a Pinterest board titled Absolutely Not Bridal that he pretended not to see and memorized anyway. He did the one knee thing and I ugly laughed and then ugly cried and then we ate tacos from a truck because nobody tells you proposals make you starving. People walking dogs clapped. A guy on a bike yelled, "Congrats!" like he was paid to, and suddenly I had a fiancé and a ring that made cashiers ask if I needed a bag for my happiness. My maid of honor, Hannah, found out before my mom. Not on purpose. She was on FaceTime with me when Mark went weirdly quiet and started scrubbing his hands like a surgeon. She mouthed, "Is this it?" at me through the phone. I nodded. She screamed. The sound was tinny and perfect. Hannah and I have been each other's person since sophomore year of college. We survived a moldy apartment and feral roommates together. We have matching scars from a cheap wine opener incident, and she's the first contact under ice in my phone because she once drove across town at 2 a.m. to bring me ginger ale during a stomach flu. She's also the kind of beautiful that gets labeled approachable in magazines. Warm, big laugh, eyes that make people tell her secrets without realizing. Mark and Hannah liked each other immediately in that breezy way that felt like a relief. He's the kind of steady that looks boring until you need it. Spreadsheets, meal prep Sundays, a car that always has gas. He works in operations for a regional grocery chain. Yes, he said logistics on the first date. Yes, I made fun of him. Yes, he explained route optimization until I fell a little in love. I work in design video copy, the freelancer starter pack with creative chaos and feast or famine calendars. He called my life artful. I called his stable, and it felt like puzzle pieces that refused to force themselves. They just clicked. The wedding planning started as a mood board and escalated into a second job nobody pays you for. Venue, an old brick factory with string lights that made my mom say, "It looks unfinished," and my friends say, "It looks like a Pinterest board," became real. Date, a Saturday in October because I'm basic for crisp air and figs on cheese boards. Colors, autumn neutrals. I know, I hate me too. Photographer, painfully talented and just expensive enough to feel like a decision. Deposits went out like carrier pigeons. Florist, DJ, rentals, the absurd fee the city charges for letting people park near an old brick. Hannah grabbed the clipboard and became the coordinator I didn't know I needed. Spreadsheets with tabs, vendors saved as favorites, a group chat titled Operation Snacks Plus Vows. She scheduled dress fittings like a military op and remembered to bring granola bars when I forgot to eat at the bridal boutique and almost cried at a zipper. When I spiraled about walking down the aisle while people stare, she said, "Pretend it's the world's fanciest hallway, and you're just getting to the snacks faster." She's a human Xanax with lipstick. Mark slid into planning the way he slides into everything quiet, practical, the guy who picks up the things you forgot to carry. He handled hotel blocks, transportation, buses but cute, and the battle royale that is the seating chart. We did Sunday afternoons at the kitchen table with sticky notes for humans like we were mapping a risk board. Who can't sit with who needs an exit, who thrives near the bar. Every time I got stuck, he'd squeeze my knee under the table and say, "We're on the same team." I loved him for that. I still do. In the weird way, love doesn't evaporate just because you wish it would. In hindsight, which is basically therapy with fewer copays, there were red flags, but they looked like confetti at the time. They looked like closeness. The first, Hannah and Mark texted a lot. Not romantic texts, just logistics photos of centerpiece inspo, a meme about father-daughter dances that didn't make me cringe, a screenshot of a conversation with the DJ who insisted on playing line dances only ironically. Sometimes he'd hand me his phone to show me a vendor quote, and I'd catch a glimpse of their thread. It was full of check marks and enthusiasm, and we've got her energy. Every time my stomach did a little flip, I told it to grow up. These were my people, building a day for me. Second, the harmless sleepovers. If you've planned a wedding, you know the last month is a rolling blackout of tasks and people sleeping on couches. There were late nights folding menus and tying ribbons that never stay tied, crashing on our sectional because driving home tired is how you get ghost stories. It wasn't weird for Hannah to be there. It wasn't weird for Mark to be there. It wasn't weird for all of us to be there. Until it was. 2 months out, the weekends got weirdly partitioned. Mark had work crises that popped up like whack-a-moles, and Hannah had family stuff that never came with detail. I joked once that they were cheating on me with my calendar. They laughed too hard. I remember the night I wrote my vows and thought, I sound like a person who believes in magic, which is unusual for me because I am not whimsical by nature. I wrote about small love, coffee cups on the right shelf, the car turned around when I forgot my wallet, the way he'd sit on the floor with me when my edits crashed and I felt like a failure. I wrote about choosing every morning, even when my hair did that thing or his work stress made him stare through walls. I wrote about Hannah too, because she was part of our story. She'd been there when we said, "I love you" for the first time. We were making pancakes at midnight. She third-wheeled with a fork and said, "I love you both, but I'm hungry." And it turned into something we remembered every time batter hit a pan. I should tell you about the ring. People always ask. It's still in a dish by my bed as I write this, which is either emotional masochism or documentation. It's an oval diamond, thin gold band. Mark picked it out with Hannah. Of course he did. She knows my taste better than I do. When I found out, I cried and hugged her and said, "Who else would I trust with my forever?" It felt like the purest kind of love triangle, me, my best friend, and the future we were building. 2 weeks before the wedding, my apartment looked like a craft store fell in love with a brewery. Cases of wine, candles in boxes, a mysterious tote labeled emergency kit that Hannah swore I couldn't open yet. Spoiler, bobby pins, Advil, tiny sewing kit, and a list titled Breathe. The final vendor calls were happening. The final fittings, the final emails, the final, do we really need table numbers? Yes, you do, unless chaos is your theme. And then the little noises began. The kind you hear when a house settles or when something is trying to get your attention softly, politely. Mark's phone face down more often. A weird flinch when I asked who he was texting. Hannah canceling brunch twice in a row with rain check, emojis that tried so hard to be cheery they felt like a hostage note. My mom asked if I was okay. I said I was wedding-brained, which is a real diagnosis. There was one night I need to write it down because it smells like a clue now, when Mark came home late from a route change emergency. His words. He was wired and quiet and tried to climb into bed without touching me, like he was sneaking past a sleeping dog. I mumbled, "Hey, you okay?" He kissed my forehead and said, "You're my home base," and fell asleep across an ocean of sheets. I don't know what version of love that is, but it felt like something you label and put on a high shelf. Fragile, handle with care, do not open until safe. I'd like to say I confronted it then, that I am the protagonist who hears the score shift and pulls over. Instead, I doubled down on the plan. 3 days later, we did our final walkthrough at the venue. Hannah wore a jumpsuit that made the coordinator whisper cute to me like a secret. Mark did that thing with his hands where he looks like he's assembling invisible furniture while he thinks. We mapped where the dessert table would go, where the band would set up, where we'd hide when my great-aunt inevitably tried to give a speech about marriage being teamwork and casseroles. It felt right in the way a well-written lie feels right. Snug, believable, warm. Hannah hugged me in the parking lot and said, 2 weeks, babe. You're almost there. I said, I couldn't do this without you. She said, you won't have to. That's the last moment I remember believing all three of us were walking toward the same door. The night the truth arrived, it didn't knock. It slid in like a notification. It was small, and then it was everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The point of part 1 is to tell you I loved them both. Not the same way, obviously, but in the same house. And I believed that love was a kind of proof. I believed it was a guarantee. Turns out, it's a receipt. And sometimes the total hits you at the register. You always think the moment your world tilts will be dramatic. A phone left unlocked, a lipstick stain. A stranger's whisper. Mine started with a song. It was a Wednesday, 2 weeks before the wedding. I was at my desk half working, half daydreaming, editing a highlight reel for a client while toggling between Pinterest boards and our shared Spotify playlist, Forever Mix. Mark had made it right after he proposed, full of inside jokes, road trip songs, and a few painfully sincere ballads. That morning, a new track had been added. It was labeled For Her, Draft 3, and uploaded through his side of the account. Mark writes music sometimes, hobby stuff, nothing serious. He once recorded a song for me on our anniversary that was so awkwardly sweet it made me cry laugh. So I clicked play, expecting another acoustic cringe with his old guitar. The song started soft, slow, and then I heard her name. Not mine. Hannah's. Not in a poetic metaphor way. In a literal, syllable-stretched, whispered like a prayer way. I froze. My hand stayed on the mouse like I was diffusing something explosive. The lyrics were intimate. Not generic love song material. Little details. Coffee the way you stir with your left hand. That freckle near your knee I kissed like a promise. My brain immediately tried to rationalize. Maybe it was old. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was. Then I saw the upload date, 2 days ago. I stopped the music. My heart had gone mechanical. Just thudding, no emotion, like an engine running on autopilot. I opened my messages. He'd texted me an hour earlier. At lunch with the guys. Don't forget to call the florist, love you. I stared at that little heart emoji, and suddenly it looked like a bullet hole. I didn't know what to do, so I did what all stupidly hopeful people do when their world cracks. I looked for proof that it wasn't true. I opened our shared Google Drive, the one we used for wedding stuff. Seating charts, contracts, photos. Everything organized in neat little folders. I clicked through mindlessly, opening things I'd seen 100 times before. Then I noticed something new. A folder labeled Ceremony Edits. It wasn't mine. It was locked. Private. But for some reason, The preview thumbnail loaded just enough for me to see the first image inside. A photo of Hannah's hand. The engagement ring, my ring, visible in the background on the counter, blurred, but unmistakably mine. She was holding a champagne glass, the same kitchen counter Mark and I had breakfast at every morning. I don't remember clicking anything after that. My body moved faster than my mind. I grabbed my phone, texted Hannah, "Are you home?" She replied right away, "Yeah, why? Can I come by?" "Of course, babe. Everything okay?" The word babe made my skin crawl. Her apartment was 7 minutes away. I remember the traffic lights all turning green, like the universe was saying, "Let's just get this over with." She opened the door, smiling, wearing leggings and an oversized sweatshirt that looked like one of Mark's. I didn't let myself think about that. Inside, her place smelled like the candle I'd given her last Christmas, vanilla and cedar. There were wedding magazines spread across the coffee table. She hugged me. I didn't hug back. She felt it immediately. "What's wrong?" I didn't know how to say it. I just handed her my phone. Spotify open, that stupid song still paused on For Her, Draft 3. She blinked. Once, twice. Her smile faltered. Oh, I repeated. My voice cracked around the word. Her mouth opened, then closed. She sat down. "You weren't supposed to hear that yet." Yet, that word split the air like lightning. I sat opposite her, gripping the couch edge so tight my knuckles went white. "How long?" She started crying. Not loud sobs, just tears sliding silently down. "It wasn't planned," she said. "It just happened." I laughed, but it sounded wrong, hysterical. "It just happened. What, you tripped and fell into my fiancé's bed?" She flinched. "We didn't mean to hurt you." I stood up so fast the coffee table rattled. "You wrote songs about her," I said. "He wrote songs. How long, Hannah?" She didn't answer, and that told me everything. I left before she could explain. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my keys in the hallway 3 times. I got in the car and screamed until my throat hurt. At a red light, my phone buzzed. "Mark." "Hey, I'm home. Where are you?" I didn't answer. I drove to my parents' house instead. I walked straight to my old bedroom, sat on the floor, and stared at the poster I'd never taken down. A quote that said, "Everything you want is on the other side of fear." That night, I stared at my phone until sunrise, watching the message bubble blink and vanish again and again as he tried to text me explanations. The next day, he showed up at my parents' house. I didn't open the door, but I heard him outside talking to my mom. His voice was soft, pleading. I caught words like confused, mistake, and I still love her. My mom, bless her, didn't yell. She just said, "Son, you should leave before my husband gets home." He left a note in the mailbox. I didn't read it for 3 days. When I finally did, it was 5 pages long, handwritten, tear-stained, full of that desperate self-pity people mistake for remorse. "I didn't want to hurt you. It didn't mean anything. You're my home. Home. That word again." He'd used it the night before it happened, when he thought I was asleep. I packed up everything wedding-related into boxes labeled return, donate, and trash. The dress went to the back of my closet. The florist called concerned when I canceled. The venue asked if I wanted to transfer my deposit to another date. "No," I said. "There's not going to be another date." They refunded half of a heartbreak. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "I know you hate me. I just want you to know I'm sorry." It was Hannah. I didn't reply. I blocked her. But before I did, I typed a message I never sent. "You were supposed to stand beside me when I said yes to forever. Not take him before I even got to say it." Then I deleted it, because she didn't deserve the power of my words. The wedding date came and went. I didn't cry that day. I didn't even check social media. I went hiking with my brother instead. We climbed until we couldn't see the city anymore, until it felt like distance could dissolve memory. But that night, lying in bed, I still heard the song, his voice whispering her name, and the line that ruined me the most, "I'd wait forever for you." He didn't. And now neither would I. There's no correct outfit for confronting betrayal. I tried 3. Option 1, oversized hoodie and leggings, woman mid-breakdown chic, too pitiful. Option 2, full glam armor, lipstick as war paint, too try hard. Option 3, jeans, black t-shirt, messy bun, ordinary, perfect. It had been 5 days since I found the song, the photos, the everything. 5 days of the same loop, people whispering, "Are you okay?" Like I'd broken something fragile. My mother pretending not to refresh the wedding website. My father muttering about men these days like I'd brought home a global crisis. Then Hannah texted again, from another number. "We need to talk, please." And because I'm apparently addicted to closure, I said yes. We met at a small park near our old college campus, halfway between nostalgia and neutral ground. I arrived first, sat on a bench by the duck pond, and stared at the water that always looks like it's hiding secrets. She showed up wearing sunglasses, which is funny because it was cloudy. She looked smaller. Guilt shrinks people. I didn't stand up. She sat next to me anyway, left a polite inch of air between us. I don't know where to start, she said. I said, try the truth. She exhaled. It started 3 months ago. We were working on the surprise video montage for your rehearsal dinner. He came over to record his part. We opened a bottle of wine. One thing led to another. I cut her off. Don't reduce it to a cliche. She nodded, eyes glassy. It wasn't supposed to happen again, but it did. I tried to end it. He said he was confused, that he loved us both. I laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. He said the same thing about that seating chart. Some problems don't have a middle ground. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was selfish. I told myself it meant something deeper, that maybe it was fate. I don't know what's wrong with me. You loved being needed, I said. He loved being adored. It's basic math. Silence, the kind that hums in your ears. Then she asked, do you hate me? I thought about it. Hate felt too heavy. I was tired of carrying anything that belonged to them. No, I said finally. You don't get hate. You get nothing. She nodded like that was worse, and it was. That night, Mark showed up uninvited. He'd been texting from burner numbers too, always variations of please, talk to me. My dad finally told him, if you come here again, bring the cops with you. So, of course he came when they were out. I heard the knock and somehow knew it was him before I opened the door. He looked awful. Stubble, dark circles, the confidence stripped off him like old paint. He was holding the ring box. I need you to hear me, he said. I didn't let him in. I stood in the doorway, 1 foot on my welcome mat, 1 foot inside the house, because that's what it felt like emotionally too. Half in, half done. I know you hate me, he started. I don't hate you, I said. You're just irrelevant now. He flinched like I'd slapped him. I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I raised an eyebrow. Funny, because the song said otherwise. He froze. You heard it. Yeah, you're not as subtle as you think, Mozart. He rubbed his face. It wasn't supposed to be about her. It was just, stop lying, I said quietly. You don't get to rewrite the story just because you don't like the ending. He took a shaky breath. I panicked. The wedding, it felt too big. You were perfect. Everything was perfect, and I don't know. I self-destructed. Congratulations, I said. You succeeded. I still love you, he said. Please believe that. I looked at the man I almost married and felt nothing but static. The love was gone. It had burned out quietly like the last candle at a party everyone already left. You love the way I made you feel about yourself, I said. That's not the same thing. He reached for my hand. I stepped back. Leave, I said. He hesitated. What do I do with the ring? Pawn it, melt it, bury it under whatever's left of your conscience. He didn't move. So I closed the door. The next morning, I blocked him everywhere. Emails, Venmo, even on the shared grocery app. I messaged every vendor, canceled everything. The florist sent a kind note. We're refunding as much as we can. You deserve flowers anyway. My mom helped me box the decorations. My dad quietly loaded them into his truck. No lectures, no pity. Just quiet logistics. The kind Mark used to handle. I thought that would be the end, but heartbreak isn't an event. It's an echo. It comes back in strange shapes. Like the barista who asked when the wedding was, or the song that shuffled into my playlist at the grocery store, or the bridesmaid dress ad that popped up because the internet has no mercy. For a while, I kept imagining alternate universes. Ones where I never found out. Ones where he married me and still kept her in secret. But every version felt hollow. The truth was brutal, but at least it was real. 2 weeks later, I woke up to a DM from a stranger. Hey, not sure if you want to know this, but Mark and Hannah just made their relationship Facebook official. It was a photo of them at some lakeside cabin, smiling like they hadn't detonated a life. Caption, sometimes love finds you in the most unexpected places. I didn't cry. I didn't even screenshot it. I just blocked them both and made pancakes. It's wild how ordinary healing looks. It's not dramatic. It's grocery lists and doing laundry and sleeping through the night again. I started therapy. I got a tattoo, small, simple, just the word enough. I changed my Spotify password, deleted Forever Mix, made a new one called Eventually Okay. The first song, Dog Days Are Over. Because they are. The wedding was supposed to be October 14th. Instead of walking down the aisle that day, I woke up to rain hammering my window, the kind that soaks the whole world in static. I remember thinking how fitting it was, nature doing the crying for me. Everyone around me treated that weekend like a crisis zone. My mom made enough soup to feed a mid-sized army. My best friend Jen came over with chocolate, tequila, and a 6-hour playlist called Rage and Recovery. My brother threatened to talk to Mark, which in his language meant commit light arson. But I didn't want noise. I wanted nothing, just quiet. So while everyone else tried to fill the silence, I embraced it. I went for long drives with no music. I deleted old texts. I scrubbed our shared Dropbox folder clean. I even reset the Wi-Fi name. It used to be Mark and Cassie Forever. Now it's New Network, Who Dis. The day that was supposed to be our wedding, I put on a hoodie, grabbed an umbrella, and walked to the old brick factory venue. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to see it one last time. The coordinator, Melissa, recognized me immediately. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. "Oh, honey," she said softly. "Are you sure you want to be here?" "Yeah," I said, "just for a minute." The lights were dimmed. The floors smelled faintly of candle wax and champagne, remnants of someone else's happily ever after from the night before. I walked across the empty space, picturing the chairs, the flowers, the aisle that would have held every version of me, the hopeful one, the forgiving one, the stupidly in love one. I stood where I would have said my vows. My hands shook a little, not from sadness, but from realization. This wasn't my ending. It was my reroute. Melissa, bless her, didn't hover. She handed me a cup of coffee, patted my arm, and said, "You'll have your day, but it'll be yours, not his." I believed her. If you've ever canceled a wedding, you know the internet doesn't make it easy. Facebook still reminded me, 2 weeks until your special day. Pinterest, here's more floral inspo for your autumn wedding. Instagram, people are loving your countdown to Cassie and Mark posts. I deleted all of it, cold turkey. But of course, the gossip didn't stay contained. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly cared so much. Oh my God, what happened? We thought you two were perfect. You're being so strong, I could never cancel that close to the date. The thing about pity is, it sounds a lot like applause if you don't listen closely. Then there were the whispers, people trying to pick sides. Someone texted me a screenshot of Hannah's Instagram story, her at brunch, clinking mimosas, captioned, "Cheers to new beginnings." It got 37 likes, mostly mutual acquaintances who didn't know or didn't care. It should have hurt. It didn't. It was just noise. I learned something profound during those weeks. Indifference is louder than revenge. Money, the unromantic ghost of every breakup. Canceling a wedding is like trying to untangle Christmas lights that are on fire. Some vendors were kind. "We understand completely. Here's a partial refund." Others were less so. Per our contract, cancellations within 30 days are non-refundable. I did the math one night, sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by invoices and refund receipts. I was out about $14,000. I could have asked Mark for half, but I didn't want anything from him. Not even pennies. Not even closure. So I called my accountant and reclassified it in my budget under a new name. Tuition. Because that's what it was. The cost of learning what kind of person not to marry. People love to measure healing in milestones. When you stop checking their socials. When you can hear their name without flinching. When you start dating again. My milestone was smaller. One night, about a month after everything, I was watching The Office reruns, comfort food for the soul, when a line made me laugh out loud. Really laugh. Not that weird broken giggle you do when you're trying to prove you're fine. An actual stupid snorting laugh. And it hit me. I hadn't done that in weeks. I paused the show, looked around my quiet apartment, and felt something I hadn't in forever. Peace. Not joy, not excitement, just peace. Like my brain had finally stopped vibrating. Then came the message that changed everything. But in a good way, for once. It was from a girl named Emily. The name didn't ring a bell. "Hey, you don't know me, but I used to date Mark a few years back." I saw what happened. I just wanted to say, you're not crazy, and you're not alone. We ended up talking for hours. Turns out his pattern wasn't new. Emily's story was eerily similar. Emotional manipulation, you're my calm, secret late-night messages to another girl. It didn't make me feel special. It made me feel free. Because suddenly, it wasn't me. It was him. Emily and I started texting regularly. We shared memes, vented about therapy, traded stories about bad coffee and worse men. One night she said, "He collects women like safety nets. But we all got out. That's the real win." And it was. Months passed. Seasons changed. My hair grew out. My heart settled. Then, one night in spring, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. It was a text from Mark. "I heard you're doing well. I'm happy for you." I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back exactly 6 words. "You should have been too." Then I blocked him again. That was the last time he ever reached out. People expect freedom to feel loud, like confetti cannons or champagne pops. But it doesn't. It feels like waking up on a Sunday with no alarm. Like grocery shopping alone without checking your phone. Like hearing a song and realizing it's just a song again, not a wound. It feels like nothing. And that's the point. Nothing is peace. It's funny how a year can pass without you realizing it. One moment you're sitting on the floor, surrounded by half-packed wedding decorations, wondering how to breathe again. And the next you're standing in your own kitchen, barefoot, humming to a song you once couldn't hear without shaking. I didn't plan my healing. I didn't follow a 5-step program or read a self-help book about forgiveness. I just kept going. Day by day, chore by chore, moment by moment, At first, it felt mechanical brush teeth, go to work, eat, sleep. But somewhere along the way, living turned into life again. For the first few months, everything in my apartment was a ghost. The couch where we'd planned the seating chart, the blender he'd bought, the framed photo of us at the engagement party that I couldn't throw out but couldn't look at either. Then one weekend I cleaned. Not a sad, dramatic purge, just a slow reclaiming. I donated the blender, boxed up the photo, moved the couch. I repainted the walls a color called Moonlit Linen because the name sounded peaceful. When I was done, the place didn't look new. It looked like me. The nightmares stopped around month 6. Before that, I'd wake up to phantom vibrations, my phone buzzing with messages that weren't there. It took a while to realize they were muscle memory. I'd trained my body to expect bad news. Once, I even dreamt I was walking down the aisle and everyone was clapping. But when I reached the altar, there was no one there. I woke up laughing. People romanticize self-love like it's a spa day. It's not. It's sitting at a restaurant table for one and deciding not to stare at your phone. It's buying yourself flowers and not needing an occasion. It's walking through a grocery store on a Friday night with no pang of loneliness because you know the quiet is yours. I started hiking. Not the Instagram kind of hiking with matching outfits and drone shots, but the kind where you bring too little water and curse every incline. Something about sweating alone on a trail, lungs burning, made me feel like I was earning my way back into my body. I learned to cook meals that didn't need to impress anyone. I learned to sleep diagonally. I learned to take pictures without wondering if someone else would like them. There's power in realizing you don't need an audience. Around month 9, Hannah and Mark broke up. I found out through mutual friends who still whispered updates like they were reporting weather. Apparently, he'd cheated on her too. History repeats itself, one friend said. No, I replied, people repeat themselves. It didn't bring me joy, just closure of the quiet kind, the kind where the circle closes without fanfare. Hannah sent a long email sometime after that. It sat in my inbox for 2 weeks before I opened it. It wasn't an apology so much as an autopsy. She wrote about guilt, therapy, trying to forgive herself. I didn't reply. Forgiveness doesn't always need witnesses. My therapist, yes, I finally told me, healing isn't about letting go. It's about letting be. You stop trying to rewrite the past. You just set it down. So I did. I traveled alone for the first time in my life. A long weekend in Seattle. Rain, bookstores, coffee that could wake the dead. I stayed in a small Airbnb with mismatched mugs and an ancient record player. I wrote postcards to no one. I listened to music again. Real music. Not the ghosts of his playlists. One night, I walked along the waterfront, and a street musician started playing Dog Days Are Over. I stopped, listened, and realized I was smiling. Not the careful smile you do when people are watching, the unguarded, stupid kind that sneaks up on you. That's when I knew. The bad days weren't over because the good ones replaced them. They were over because they stopped mattering. It would be neat and cinematic if I said I fell in love again. I didn't, at least, not the way you'd expect. There was a guy at the climbing gym who asked me out once. Nice, funny, kind eyes. We had coffee, it was fine. But halfway through the date, he asked, "So, what happened with your last relationship?" And I realized for the first time, I didn't want to tell the story. Not because it hurt, but because it didn't define me anymore. I told him, it ended, and changed the subject. We dated casually for a few months. He wasn't the one maybe because I'd stopped believing in that singular, capitalized concept. But he was good to me. He listened. He made breakfast. He left space for me to exist. That was enough. 1 year to the day after the canceled wedding, I woke up without dread. My phone, in some cruel automation, still had the calendar alert, wedding day. I laughed, then turned it off. I spent the morning at a farmer's market, bought myself sunflowers, then met Jen for brunch. We toasted with mimosas, and she said, "You know, you're glowing." "Maybe it's the orange juice," I said, but I knew what she meant. That evening, I drove to the park where Mark had proposed. Same spot, same bench, different girl. I sat there with my journal and wrote 3 lines. I am not broken. I am not waiting. I am not hers, or his, or anyone's version of me. Then I tore the page out, folded it, and tucked it under a loose brick by the bench. A tiny time capsule for the woman who might sit there next, whoever she is, just in case she needs to know she'll survive too. Now, a year later, when people ask if I'd change anything, I tell them no. Because every bad choice, every red flag I ignored, every tear, every sleepless night, it all built the version of me sitting here now, typing this story. I like her. Sometimes I still wear the ring, but not on my finger. I strung it on a chain and wear it like a charm. It's not a symbol of what I lost. It's a reminder of what I lived through. I don't need closure from him or from her. I already have it, in the form of quiet mornings, coffee that tastes like peace, and laughter that doesn't echo against walls built for someone else. If you're reading this because you've been betrayed, because someone took the version of love you believed in and shattered it, here's what I can tell you. It ends. The pain, the replay, the guilt, the wondering. It all ends. And what comes after isn't fireworks or revenge or some cinematic rebirth. It's gentler. It's waking up one day and realizing you've stopped looking backward. You just are.